General Mdutyana is a prince within the Baka nation, as he is the descendant of King Matsigani Kazulu, the founder of the Amabaka nation. Coming from a religious educated family who wanted to give the best of education to their children, he was enrolled at the Anglican missionary schools, where his education path was greatly influenced and inspired by their religious inclinations. He started his primary education at St. George's Junior Secondary School and later moved on to St. John's College in Mthatha, where he finished his matric in 1980. Whilst at St. John's College, Lieutenant General Mdutyana started his political activism by getting involved in student protests as part of the resistance against the apartheid system. This led to him catching the interest of the South African Police Special Branch, which ultimately forced him to leave the country of his birth. Lieutenant General Mdutyana left South Africa for Lesotho in 1980 to join the ranks of the African National Congress and its military wing, Umkhonto Wesizwe. In 1994, Lieutenant General Mdutyana integrated into the SANDF as a colonel, whereafter he did his bridging training at Heidelberg Military Training Area. On completion of his bridging training in 1995, he was appointed as Senior Staff Officer, Operations at the Eastern Province Command. When the provincial command structure was phased out, he was appointed as the officer commanding Group 6 in Port Elizabeth from 1996 to 1998. In April 1998, the general was promoted to the rank of Brigadier General and appointed as the Director, Area Defense in the South African Infantry Formation until December of 2001. In January 2002, he was appointed as the General Officer commanding 43 Brigade of the South African Army. His first external deployment came in 2003, when he was appointed as the General Officer commanding of the South African contingent in Burundi. From February 2005 to September 2007, the General was deployed and appointed as the UN Deputy Divisional Commander of the Eastern Division in the United Nations Mission in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, the first UN appointment for a South African general. In February 2008, the general was promoted to the rank of Major General and immediately posted to the DRC as the Chief Advisor to the Chief of Defense Staff until March 2009. In April 2009 to November 2010, Lieutenant General Mdutyana served as the Deputy Force Commander of the United Nations Mission in Sudan. From the 1st of December 2010, the General came back from external deployments and was appointed as the General Officer Commanding Joint Operations HQ until November 2011. From 1st December 2011, he was appointed to the Joint Operations Division as the Chief Director Operations until December 2015. On 28 January 2016, Lieutenant General Mdutyana succeeded Lieutenant General Mgwebi as Chief of the Joint Operations and was subsequently promoted to the rank of Lieutenant General. The General met his untimely death on the 6th of July 2016 after a short illness. During his military career, he was bestowed with 7 medals, of which the most prominent includes Merit Medal in Bronze and a 30-year Loyal Service Medal. He leaves behind 3 boys, 3 girls and 2 sisters. Hamba kahle Zulu, Kalmesh, Nofisa, Mageba, Ndabezitha, Mafula ngezibubu, ngenxa yokusweleka uNgobozi, Bayethe Matsigani. May his soul rest in eternal peace.
I am General Ashton Mlindeni Sibango, Director Physical Training, Sport and Recreation at Defense Corporate Headquarters. More often than not, a commander and a leader is always known in many given names by his or her peers and subordinates. And late General Mdutyana was also no exception from this common practice. To all of his comrades, colleagues, and peers, he was popularly known as Ray. Most subordinates knew him as Duleza Du. Amongst the most of us, he was popularly known as Babagam Du, King Dingan. Of course, that was in his absence. I am standing here as one of his previous directors at Joint Operations Division, and I served under his chief directorship before he became Chief Joint Operations Division. On behalf of all directors, officers, and men and women who had privileged honor to serve under his leadership at Joint Operations Division, I've been directed to pay our tribute to our late great commander and leader. Similarly, I will reflect on how best we knew him. In doing so, I will try to cover as many of our observations and experiences of him within this given shortest space of time. We will all similarly be mindful that at no stage that such a remarkable record history of General Mdutyana would ever be covered completely within this space of time, but important highlights of him will suffice during this memorial service. Who is General Mdutyana as we believe we know him? Late General Mdutyana, our immediate chief, is the son of Mr. and Mrs. Mdutyana, born on 18 December 1960. We met him at various stages of his life that would include the early childhood, schooling life, life in exile on joining membership of Umkhonto weSizwe, popularly known as MK. His life as a guerrilla in armed struggle, a comrade in the South African Revolution, a revolutionary activist, a freedom fighter, a colleague in the National Peacekeeping Force, and lastly, during his last chapter in the South African National Defence Force. An all-rounder like late General Mdutyana in operational activities would make one to summarily conclude that the intensification of the armed struggle in the mid-1980s, which later brought into being the state of equilibrium in terms of the balance of forces between the forces of revolution and those of apartheid state machinery, was indicative of a well-coordinated and concerted revolutionary efforts by the likes of dedicated, devoted, and selfless guerrilla of the caliber of late General Mdutyana, for they were highly seized of the revolutionary situation at the time. General Mdutyana was there, he was actively involved, he made it in his selfless capacity as a freedom fighter, and he conquered. Such was a milestone that laid a solid foundation for which the application and employment of a strategy of non-violence means to achieving our freedom found its resonance in April 1994. General Mdutyana was instrumental in shaping up that part of the history of the country. He was a revolutionary strategist.
I am Colonel Majola, a long-time friend of the late Chief of Joint Operations, Lieutenant General Mdutyana. First of all, I would like to say, losing a friend of Raymond's Chief of Joint Operations caliber was indeed a loss none of us should endure in life. We have both shared so many good memories and trusted each other with our lives, so much that we never thought that this day would ever come. He was indeed a best friend, a brother, and a true son of the soil this country has ever produced. It is certainly a great honor and a pleasure for me to stand before this distinguished audience and talk so proudly about one of our own, whose deep love for his country saw him leaving South Africa and heeding a clarion call to defend the masses of this country during a dark chapter when being a freedom fighter was not fashionable.
My dad was a man of great honor, respect, loyalty, and he was as humble as they come. I remember when he was promoted to Major General, we were all excited, and Anduso ran to him saying, "Congratulations, Dad, I heard you got promoted." He stopped us and sat us all down and said, "It is never above being it is never about it is about doing what you love and doing it to the best of your ability." He taught us to be honorable, to be humble, and stay grounded. Life is about little rewards, and it is not the ranks that make you great. It is how you execute the mission. And I know he loved what he did. When we lost our mom in 2007, it felt as though life was taken from us. Like we could not continue, and Dad raised us alone. And today, we are mothers and wives. And I know, as painful as it is to say goodbye, he would want us to continue because he has returned home, not because he did not care for us, but because God has called him for a different mission, and he will do it to the best of his ability. Dad, I know Mom was waiting for you, and you are. And you are both together and will forever remain our guardian angels. Thank you for being a great father, true friend, and my fighter when I did not have the will to continue. I love you, Dad.
And I promise you, Dad, today that I will make you so proud. Let God be my witness. Dad, this is not easy, but I know that you're with us in spirit. I will cherish the wise words you shared, the hugs and kisses. I will hold dear all the memories, the love you so openly shared with us. My hero, who never took credit where it's due. I will continue making you proud.
On behalf of my family and the Office of the Military Ombud, we wish you peace and strength during this difficult time. Only time will heal this wound. I was very lucky to call him a friend. It is true indeed that, I quote, "A great soul serves everyone all the time. A great soul never dies. It brings us together again and again," close quote, Maya Angelou. In conclusion, though sympathy alone can't alter the reality of the situation, it can help to make the grief more bearable. Lieutenant General Mdutyana will be dearly missed. A truly outstanding and wonderful man. One of the great public servants of our time.
As I look through this kaleidoscope of his life, I see the many valued and meaningful roles that General Mdutyana played. First and foremost, as has been mentioned many times, I see General Mdutyana, the family man. He loved his family unambiguously and selflessly. He was a devoted father, and he took this role to heart as he strove to honor, support, guide, and most importantly, love his family. He was at his happiest when he was surrounded by his children, even during those inevitably tough times that life has a way of throwing at one. His devotion to his family was the foundation of his actions, the anchor that defined and shaped his life. So as the kaleidoscope turns, I see General Mdutyana, the friend. He was a good friend to so many. He could be counted on and depended on always. Whether you needed sound counsel, an empathetic ear, a shoulder to lean on, or companionable silence. He was all of these for when you needed him. Ready, steadfast, willing, and good fun. The kaleidoscope turns again, and I see General Mdutyana, a man defiant and the champion for others. He lived a principled life underpinned by a strong sense of right and wrong, as we've heard many times here this morning. He was never a man to step back from a challenge or to let something wrong stand unchallenged. He cared enough to act and to take a stand. He coined the phrase for the Joint Operations Division this year, which said, "Do not wait, do not speculate, just execute follow-up and give feedback." And if I may add to this, one of the phrases I got to know from him and I used to use back to him on occasion, he would always say, "Do something like yesterday." He continued to touch many others, and we look through the memories of his life, we see a respected colleague. He shared his expertise with his colleagues and subordinates. He worked hard and consistently, and he remained a student of life, as we've also so well heard this morning. He was a role model and a mentor and an inspiration to so many.
On behalf of the Chief of the National Defence Force, General Sodi Shoke, the members of the Military Council and the Military Command Council, I would like to say we're very sad with the loss of General Mdutyana. We're actually privileged and honored to have a man of his caliber serving within the ranks of the SANDF. The Chief of the Defence Force, General Shoke, would have liked to be here in person to pay his tribute to one of his outstanding commanders. But unfortunately, he couldn't be here because of other commitments, and has therefore requested me to convey his sincere condolences to the Mdutyana family. I know this is a difficult time for you. You are not sure how you are going to be able to live without the guidance of your dad. But I also want to say to you, God Almighty is there. He'll be the guiding light through the storm you are going through, to the better days. The days when you can reflect with pride on the life of your dad. The days that when you think about him, you'll be filled with joy. And I'm sure he'll be able to assist you also to find purpose in your life. and live worthy and fulfilling lives.
Death always visits all of us at the most inopportune time of life. It always does as if to spite us by taking those that we need and need critically. It has robbed us of a cadre, an important individual on whom we still expected much. It cheated us of a star that was silently and with decent confidence shining brightly amongst the stars of our horizon. Death has robbed us of Comrade Raim Kabela, as he was known in the ranks of the glorious People's Army, Umkhonto Wesizwe, and Lieutenant General Duma Dumisani Mdutyana, the Chief Joint Operations in the South African National Defence Force. We're conducting this memorial service to honor Lieutenant General Mdutyana and remember him and his excellent contributions, which must inspire us to high levels of discipline, commitment, and selflessness in the execution of our duties as members of the South African National Defence Force and members of the society. The life of Lieutenant General Mdutyana should tell us of how honor and glory is achievable to those who are simple but focused in life. It must inspire us to serve with humility but utmost seriousness in the task that we are privileged to be given as members of the force and members of society.